Hello, hello guys. It's gonna be a somewhat short stream today, as the title says. I'm expecting like a hour and a half to 2 hours-ish. But I really wanted to do some ranked. I do not know when I feel like playing though. Suppose I'll do a hurt game. I'm getting a little tired of dealing with hurt jungles in my games. Even if I'm just relaxing in casuals, I feel like I'm dealing with hurt ganking me. He is definitely powerful. I do think he's much better in jungle than he is in solo as well. Such a menace. And we got a dodge. Oh well. Not like I don't have a whole lot of time today or anything. Maybe I can think about what I actually feel like playing then. I'm definitely fatigued on the current gods. I need something new and spicy. Or just a balance patch, because I'm just tired of Hades and Morrigan and stuff. That's also very. It's also, I don't know. It's also in ranked. It's quite limited because of how powerful ADCs and late game mages can be. So playing a tank feels so bad late game. Like I wouldn't mind playing some Morka Bracken or even Odin or some shit like that. Or Sobek. I want to play Sobek, but it feels terrible. And I can't carry on those gods, man. I really can't. The only front line that works is Hercules. Bellona can as well. It also depends on your team, obviously, but if I'm in a situation where I need to carry, it's gonna be real hard if I'm not able to do any damage. And I'm never soloing anything on something like Sobek outside of a mage, and that's only if they're alone. Someone never peels for them, I'm just dead. Maybe I'm a doomer. Maybe I could, but it's just way harder to pull off. Need to find some spice somewhere, maybe. Like a full damage Bacchus or some shit. Could be time to find the full damage Bacchus somewhere. Full damage armor could be decent as well, I guess, but I'm just not much of an armor player. I've seen Deathwalker like or enjoying that quite a bit. Or at least he did a little while back. Fenrir, I think, is good for carrying if you're not against something that just fucks you in lane. But you could definitely be against something that's real hard to deal with. And I'm not interested. Man, I got such a fast queue into a usual 4-minute-ish queue. Well, it's gonna be more. Hey Jordan, good to see you, man. Surely Cabrakan with Lifebinder is good. Well, it's probably pretty good in lane, but I guess, as usual, tanks just get fucked late game. And from what people told me last stream, it might even get much worse in the next patch. My dude, how was the how was the last queue so fast? Care buffs look very strong. I don't actually think. Do you have the patch notes somewhere? Can I find them somewhere? Because I didn't actually look. I only heard what people said. Is there a latest news type thing with some notes? No, it's not on their website at least. Like Capra definitely needs some buffs, but I also feel like once he does get buffed, he's gonna be hella strong. So the Titan talk, I see. Okay, maybe I can find the Titan talk then. Wait, Smite game isn't going at the moment? Well, I guess that kind of makes sense with everything going on. Let's see. Titan talk. Right, so we got the bots nerfs overall. That's very good, because I'm so fucking tired of seeing bots. It's actually insane. Though I guess, wait, is this patch? Oh, this is the old patch. This is the one from 2 days ago. Webbots has already been nerfed. Jesus Christ, it doesn't feel like it. I did a casual earlier today, somewhat early. Or very early, I guess, compared to when I usually play. And it doesn't even fucking matter, man. You don't even have to be good at playing the game to actually win on bots against the top tier soul winner, I guess. Alright, let's see. Yeah, I want to see the whole thing though. I want to just skim through it real fast, but it looks like... Yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so Medal of Discord is coming. I can throw this on stream as well, actually. Might as well. Though my queue now finally popped, but... Let me... Oh, the cam is not supposed to be on. Thank you very much. Okay. I'll swap over once I get into game. Let's see. So we got Medal of Discord. Oh, they're getting reworked. Aw, man. I get it though, because they're really good, but these items no longer require mana, allowing fans and emojis to use them. Okay. Huh. Weird, but interesting. Pillars of the coolness of pillars 3 and over 1 will prevent item procs and the ability. That's good. Should have been same from the beginning. They're really sitting on this one for a while, huh? Right, you can move it. Defeat Divine Ruin, Chronos Pendant, just overall int getting more stuff. Give me a second, I need to pick something. Wait, no. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry about what you're seeing here, guys, but fuck. Aladdin Hades? I guess we did get butts, though. The fuck am I playing into that? I want to play Poseidon a bit. It might be a terrible mistake into that, but screw it. Why does it look so fucked? Okay. I don't know why it does that. So right, int getting some buffs. I mean, I think that is good, but this might be a bit much. Like on Divine Ruin, which is an item that is already bought a lot. I feel like in the newer builds, like, I mean, that's a 20% increase, man. That's crazy. Chronos Pendant as well. Already a... Wait. No. Someone dodged the game, man. Dude. I mean, what did they have Aladdin and, whatever. Hey, I'm Bridge, good to see you, man. It's been a while. I'm just looking at some new stuff here. Soul Reaver buff and rework. More int, less cost. A bit of a change in the passive. Minimum damage has been removed, okay. And yeah, the kind of the same passive. Yeah, I feel like I need to use it to really get a feel for it. Like, this looks good to me, just on paper. Jade Scepter is an item I've been liking a bit recently. But the fact that it's upping in gold makes me not want to buy it that much. But, I mean, 120 is pretty good in terms of intelligence. On top of the active that it gives you. I might have to buy this one a bit more. Suppose we'll see how that goes. Cowl is interesting. A bit of a weird change. I'm not sure I like that. Not that it matters to me though. Yeah, I don't really care too much about Conduit getting buffed though. Dude, I think Conduit is insanely good. Yo, stop scrolling. Sense as well. That's all right, I guess. It did kind of. Sense got a lot of nerfs because of the cooldown stuff, but it getting more damage is interesting. Spear of Deso. Okay, dude, stop. Murden getting a decreased passive, I guess active buff. I guess is interesting as well. It's definitely an underutilized item, but once that thing becomes meta, it's gonna be so annoying. It's an item I fear and love. I am first pick though, so let me ban here. Rejoice. Yeah, I don't know if Spirit Rope is cool. Yeah, I like Spirit Rope. I think as an option. Hades ban. We are the Morrigan. Morrigan, eh? I still don't know what I feel like playing, man. I'm in a bit of a slump right now. I don't know what I want to play. Have you heard all the info? For the most part, yeah. If you're talking about the layoff stuff, yeah. I'm still pretty out of the loop, but I get the gist of it. I'll do Fenrir. I'm gonna regret it, as I always do, but I'm just going through some new stuff here. Yeah, it sucks. That's just my general thoughts about it. I try to keep mostly positive stuff on my stream, but yeah, of course, I mean, it's hard to ignore the layoffs. It sucks. That stuff's never good, no matter who's happening to. I hate it. That's about it. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what news follow. I mean, this always sucks, no matter what. Dude, no man. I'm limited on time today. Stop dodging. This is my third dodge in a row now. The one day I'm busy. Get me in. Get me in. At least I got the patch notes to look at. Mystical Mail, I did see this in a leak, I guess, or something on Twitter at some point. Predwin, Spirit Rope. Yeah, I mean, I like this, because these items have just not been a thing for a long time at this point, so. You get 6 dodges? Damn. Yeah, that's pretty long as well. Goddamn. At least my Q just popped once again, so that's nice. Shield Splitter, increase projectile speed, now pass through and damages target's head. Okay, so it might be decent now. Also decrease gold, which is the big one, and I am actually banning. Okay, cool. What am I gonna live through? See if I can get in the monkey. Monkey. Aladdin Butts? Well, let's trade gods instead. I don't want to fucking jungle, man. This is at first though. I don't think I've seen actually the same team get both Aladdin and bots, but I'll take it. I got a little distracted by this. Let me put this back up. Let's see what else we got. Seems to be a pretty big patch. Gilded Arrow, I don't even what the fuck. I don't even know what it does now, man. So this doesn't really matter to me. Nerves with Linebinder, that's good. I do think it is a bit too powerful. What the fuck? Hussar's wings increase gold? What? From 3,000 to 3,700? Why? I'm choosing my skin, guys. Give me a second. It's glitched. I can't tell what skin I have, so whatever. Right. One day. Okay. Oh, okay. It's getting well. No word adjustments, dude. Why? Why is this happening right here? I don't get it. A spectator guy was also laid off. Damn. That sucks, man. That's gotta be a hit to the viewer experience. Unless they, for some reason, have someone better who wasn't doing the job. Gotta get beats. So what is this? I'm against Kalino? No, he's jungle. Okay. I'm against someone I don't know who is.
Have fun. I know I win.
But yeah, as I said before, it obviously sucks. It's gonna be hard not to talk about it a bit. I imagine a lot of people will be asking in chat about it. My general consensus is obviously just that it sucks, but I try to keep the stream as positive as possible, so. I will obviously answer if people have questions about it though, like, and how I feel about it, but it's not really any more complicated than me simply thinking that it sucks. All I can really say is that I hope they made the decision with the company in mind, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, they only made the decision because they really needed to. I obviously don't know what's happening internally, but...
Minions have spawned.
Yeah, it sucks. There's not really anything else to it. It just sucks. And I hope the best for the people who were laid off. I mean, it's not really the first time this happened. I remember when it happened with Tina. Like, when was it? Like 2 months ago or whatever? As well. I think that was the one that kind of hit me, because Tina was someone, like, it was just an OG. Like, I remember her from all the way back when I was playing. And, like, I met like her and the crew, the developers back then. So it's, yeah, it just fucking sucks. I like them a lot. Yeah, remind me to check it out, Jordan, after the game here. I want to see him do street. But I'm obviously not really able to at the moment.
towers under attack.
Help!
First blood.
Pummel them.
An enemy has been slain.
To me, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Right.
I'm chilling a bit. Early game, I think Aladdin is pretty vulnerable. As long as you keep a 3-up, then sure, I mean, you might still never get caught, but into a Thor Hercules can definitely punish me. And with Cleto and Thor, I do have to be a bit careful. Because I imagine he knows this.
Be careful, enemies behind us.
But he's in mid at the moment. Killing my mid.
An ally has been slain.
To me. Pummel them.
Let me just back. Good book, no ward.
Retreat left lane. An ally has been slain.
To me. Enemy missing right.
This Herc is kind of just letting me farm, which I'm very happy with.
Record.
Though, I mean, Hercules kind of needs the farm as well, so he's not really the greatest early game god. It's pretty easy to catch if he's out of position before he really gets tanky. And he seems to be starting with Jotun, I believe.
To me.
Bring the pain. Be careful, Needle. On my way.
Enemy ultimate down.
On my way.
Enemy missing.
Let's settle this. Pummel them, Jimmy. To me.
An enemy has been slain.
Nice. I wasn't sure I could kill him myself, but seeing bots was coming made it pretty easy.
Right. Top left lane.
Be careful left.
Right now, I just gotta see if I can get bots fed if he comes to my lane, because I'll be there for late game. Once we get there. Still, I haven't really seen... This is my second time. Last time I played him on stream, it was my first time after all the nerfs he had gotten. And definitely still super good, but he does feel... He definitely does feel a bit weaker, for sure.
Take left lane.
As he should.
Attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
No, he doesn't want to return to me. I don't know why that happens sometimes.
Been slain.
Sometimes it just does not want to return. The one.
To me, Jimmy.
Oh, I missed. And sometime, okay, I guess that just disappeared that time. I guess my passive wasn't up yet. Awkward. I guess I'm a little sloppy on Aladdin. Haven't played him as much lately.
Attack! You have slain an enemy. Be right back. Careful, Middle. Be careful, Middle. On my way. Attack! Attack! An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Follow them, Jimmy.
Thanks.
Your left tower is under attack.
Pretty good start for us so far. If we last until late game, I really don't see us losing this. I'd be so surprised if we lost. Our late game is insanely good.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy
Out of
missing.
my way.
Long as cooldowns though.
Record.
Ultimate down.
Damn. If Kepri didn't show up, I would have just went for that kill. That's unfortunate. I think he should have been dead.
Enemy missing right. Record.
He got more than he should have. That's fuck. He doesn't beat himself. If Thor sticks around, that could be interesting.
On my way.
Out of mana.
Record.
Be careful right. Out of mana.
Record.
Killing spree.
Right.
I'm gonna see if I can stick around until I can TP back. I would like to. Might be a bit risky for me though.
Right.
Complete.
Humility.
Nah. If Thor shows up, I'm just screwed without beats.
On my way.
Especially if Morgan starts looking for me as well.
Enemy ultimate down.
She's by red. She's on lane. Yeah.
An ally has been slain.
I have no idea what he just said.
Enemy missing right.
Your left
cancel
tower
that.
is under attack. Bring them pain.
Let's go, Jimmy.
Gank.
It's a bit too tanky at this point, I feel like. Oh, he went Tekokaki first? Oh. Weird.
An enemy has been slain. Gank middle lane. Bring them pain.
Recall. On my way.
Out of mana.
Let's go. Power them, Jimmy. Let's settle this.
An ally has been slain. Your left tower is under attack. Shut down.
Capri's here.
Retreat.
We must slip away. Enemies in the right lane.
Everyone is here, man. Well, that sucks.
Double kill. Shut down.
So their support and mid were there too. Tragic. You know what?
Your right tower.
Did
is
Medusa
under
just...
attack.
I can't help but realize that she was asking for ganking left. Does that mean she got solo killed in the process of this? How is it going over there? Not well. 3 level difference. Yikes. That might be tough.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your left tower
Oh.
is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Attack.
An enemy has been slain.
Enemy missing middle.
Actually did a lot of damage to Kepri.
Retreat left lane. Enemy ultimate incoming. Your middle tower is under attack. An ally has been slain.
Left lane.
Ward left.
Ward left? You serious? You serious? Ward left, yeah?
Yes.
You serious?
But would I be serious?
Unstoppable.
What do you mean? How else do you stop Thor from ganking? You ward.
Your left tower is under attack.
Such a funny response. Like, I'm not trying to trigger him, but I mean, what else are you gonna do? You gotta do what you can to stop from like getting ganked, you know?
To me.
The best way to do that is to ward. Especially, more than anything, into Thor. Or like half global ultimates.
Enemy missing middle.
Bu mu gang ya? Bu mu gang? Oğlum amına kodumun evladı. Adam gibi gang yapsana. Şerefsiz.
An enemy has been slain. Bring it on.
Oh,
Double kill.
Whew. That was fucking close. I'm glad I used my shit in time.
To me.
Gank middle lane.
Power them,
My heart. Okay, let's get Rod actually. Let's get started on the big stuff. Native has an announcer pack. Actually, would be pretty good. It kind of reminds me of that one Hebo skin that just speaks like, what is it? Brazilian or whatever it is. I'm sorry, I'm bad with stuff like that. I have no fucking idea what he speaks.
To me, Jimmy.
I'm not a huge fan of voice packs like that, just for like competitive stuff, like ranked, because I have no fucking idea what people are saying when they call for stuff. Whoops. I don't want to have to ult this.
Attack the fire giant.
Attack fire giant. Your left tower is under attack. Be careful there. Be careful there. Be careful there. Your team has destroyed the fire tower. An ally has been slain. Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower. Your team has destroyed the pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
On my way.
Your left tower has been destroyed.
To me.
Slain an enemy. Attack.
Power them, Jimmy.
Output.
Let's settle this.
An ally has been slain. Rampage. An enemy has been slain.
That almost went bad, because I thought I pressed my ult, I just didn't, I guess.
Double kill.
You will never.
I didn't want to steal another one from bots. I was holding my one.
Is under attack.
I was gonna make sure he didn't die though. What else am I looking at? I think I need some cooldown of some kind, honestly. I'm gonna go Chronos Pendant.
Attack the gold fury.
Attack the Gold Fury. Help. Woohoo. Be careful. Help.
On my way.
Ultimate is down. Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
I wanna find Isa again.
Enemy missing.
Attack left.
Ah, she does.
On my way.
What?
Your right tower is under
That
attack.
is certainly not where I pressed my button.
Be careful left.
Enemy spotted.
Attack.
On my way.
Recall. Follow them.
Double kill. Unstoppable. An ally has been slain.
Attack left tower. Enemy ultimate incoming.
Be careful.
Jump on me? No? Okay.
Destroy the left.
I was gonna jump on the wall and use the knockout.
Have slain an enemy.
We cannot do this. That was a bit optimistic from us. I'll focus on my starter rather than crossbend there.
Ward here. On my way.
Record. Paladin.
Attack. Your right tower is under attack.
Record.
Projector deployed.
Into the left.
Aye. Attack. Help.
On my way.
Fire giant. Your team has destroyed the pyromancer. An enemy has been slain. Get off of them.
I'm going for Morrigan.
You have slain an enemy. Help! An ally has been slain.
Paladin.
An enemy has been slain. Attack! Immortal!
Yeah, so I mean, I still think he's kind of broken,
Your right tower is under attack.
but he does have a somewhat rough early game, I would say.
Record.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Paladin.
Attack! Good. Destroy those right enemy tower.
Okay.
An ally has been slain.
I think I got her ult out of her. That's no beats though. Shit.
Be careful, Mute.
Dude, they're getting out with 1 HP. Damn it. That actually scared me. I thought that was Morgan in her one. Recap on. It kind of only goes down from here, and just my damage is obviously gonna go up. But I am a little afraid because Morrigan will start becoming a problem. Yeah, she can probably potentially one-shot me with her combo. If she finds me, I might just be dead. Then I need a good ult to save me.
To me. Paladin.
Looks big.
Free. An enemy
Big.
has been slain.
Well done.
You have that spark of magic in you.
Overpower and manipulate.
Probably should have given that to bots. But it's good on both of us, I suppose.
Attack! Destroy the right enemy tower. Shut down.
I must slip away quickly.
It's the huge Thorold.
An ally has been slain.
I do still have dagger on me. I could have used it, but it feels like it would have been a waste.
Your right tower is under attack. You have slain an enemy. Your right tower has been destroyed. Your middle tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack.
For me. For me. Attack the Gold Fury.
Close. Getting Morgan there would have been so huge.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
It would have been huge.
An enemy has been slain.
Feel my anger.
An ally has been slain.
The end.
No! Dude! Red buff! No! Get him! Yeah, okay. I'll take that. I think my ult every time. I didn't even hear her going to stealth. Right there is what I feared the most. If Morgan's out, I think I can survive anything, as long as I have beats up, obviously. Thor might be able to kill me in a combo, but... If Morgan dies, I should be good. But yeah, I almost got him.
Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Into the lamp. I mean, I did just realize I could have just insta-revived, but you know what? I don't need to. They're all dead. We get free phoenixes. I'll save it in case I can do the stupid int thing and just look for an easy kill by myself. As long as I get one, it's worth it. I insta-revive. That's probably what I should do. I'll trade myself for something. And then I will into the lamp, back to the base, respawn.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Or if I just get caught. That might also happen if I'm going for something aggressive.
Fire giant.
Oh, I never got to use it. I dealt with my one problem, and then there was no problem.
Good game. A magical
Victory.
game.
He sure is one of those gods. Like, Aladdin is just a ticking time bomb, I feel like. Thank you, Jordan. I will check out the Hindu post real fast. I'm sorry, I'm just reading this in my head. I'm not a big out loud reader. I have some word blindness, so. But yeah. But yeah, I mean that's good. We'll just have to wait and see what happens then. Not really much else to just wait and see what they have cooking, even if this is, you know, not looking great. But all right, back to the Titan talk. I still want to see what's happening in this patch. Yeah, the probability of having both bots and Aladdin is very, very, very low currently in ranked. That was very surprising. But as he also said, he forgot about it. So, or at least Klino did. Didn't realize Aladdin was open. So, oh, dude, no, it's been running in the back. No, where was I? I guess actually this fits. Yeah, the life binder stuff. All right, this is where I was ish. Word adjustments. Word Century, Cyclops, and I Province found some inconsistent reveal rate, and yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Sometimes it feels like words are very big. The intended sanction spot was found, adjustments been made. Okay, so just gotta get used to some new sized words. Fair enough. Previously previewed, but no longer going live. Ah, okay, so Void Shield and Void Stone not getting buffs. That's probably good, because I think Void Shield is very good. Probably good that it's not getting buffed. Armor, getting some more attack speed again. Just kind of getting some of her buffs back, I guess, or nerfs back, I should say. Attack speed buff. What is Divine Presence? Is that her? Is that her one? Must be her one, right? I don't play enough armor to know this. On her buffs. Aspect of Pride, the previously discussed change to this aspect, no longer going live. I forgot what this one was, but wasn't this one super broken when we read it? You were in the Hindu post? Nice, man. His ult could crit. Right. Well, which is it, are we talking about the same post? Yeah, Impel could crit as well, right? Right. I guess that makes sense. Like that could definitely be really broken. It was interesting though. But still some good buffs for on her here. Still, I once again, I don't think the problem with on her is how he like how much damage he does. It's the fucking, well, maybe Impale. Impale kind of sucks ass, but the problem with, well, Cinder, what post are you talking about? Link me that. Why is he talking about us? But my main problem with on her right now is how he feels to play. He still feels clunky to play. They need to fix that. He's not going to be good until they fix the clunkiness of him. What is this? Oh, it's like a special thanks video type thing. Yeah, mix and motion, goodbye. I'm beyond grateful for the the memories and the amazing people along the way. Thank you to everyone who's part of our journey. Whether or not you want to mention it, but maybe you truly appreciate it. Yeah. Damn. Yeah, it's just pretty much listing like I guess every pro player that's ever been. Yeah, I'm right there. There wasn't a hammer in at the launch tournament, so I never got to lift the hammer. But it also wasn't a Worlds, so some people say it is, some people say it isn't. But I mean, technically it isn't, because it wasn't called Worlds. Let's ban it from. It looks like their top elo is DC'd, so. I'm banning Aladdin this time, especially if they're not banning. And if my jungle wants bots, then I'll see if I can get bots. Even if they don't want bots, I'll just pick bots. That also works. Yeah, I'm guessing this is just a dodge. It's a bunch of those today. So yeah. Okay, there it is. Faster than expected. Okay, Cabrakan getting a bunch of scaling buffs, it seems. Dude, there's no way Cabrakan is going to be bad after this. I mean, I say that, but int stuff is also getting buffed, so he might still just be a shit tank getting smacked late game. Suppose we'll see. It's hard to judge at the moment, I think. We got Zeus. Decreased. Well, there's cooldown. That's interesting on Chain Lightning. Increased attack speed. Huh. I'm banning again. Trying to take him out of ADC. And that sucks, man. Don't do that. Variety is cool. You can't do that. And I don't really know why they would want to take him out of ADC. It's not like he's broken or unbalanced in ADC. He's more unbalanced as a mage. looks like I might be doing the bots. Yeah, I do think nerfing his ADC aspect and then buffing the mage parts is kind of crazy to me as well. I don't know if he's just like overperforming in ADC and maybe some casual games or some shit. Well, let's see. What's next on the list? Yeah, they're decreasing base damages and buffing scalings, so it like Detonate was already shit on as ADC. To be fair, I do think Zeus has had very high base damage for kind of no reason, but still, this is a little sad to me because I do actually like playing him with more of an ADC type aspect. Like when I play him as solo, I go pretty tanky, but it's basically an attack speed build. I go with it, so this will nerf that, and it's not like it's good already. It's just okay. It's just a fun pick. Vulcan getting a bunch of scaling buffs as well. I think that's good because he is absolutely terrible as a mage. So that's good. Medusa getting nerfs, also fine. I don't mind that. That's it. It seems. All right. Actually, this is a good point, Jordan. The aspect potentially being made could be the reason why he is not like he is getting nerfed. Because then the aspect can focus more on the ADC aspects of him. That is actually a good point. But again, I would prefer just one thing, like him just being the same as he is now, and then them just make something else, like even more interesting. Like they could even make him something like a jungler or something, you know? Maybe the Detonate no longer needs 3 Detonates to stun, but it does way less damage or some shit, you know, something like that. That can help him, like as a jungler a bit, or even as a support. I don't know. Who in the fudge am I against? They have a weird comp. I feel like I don't need any of these. Do I just go Blink then? Probably just go Beats. What do I want to build? I might go Jotuns. I assume I'm against Mordred. Mordred.
Have fun out there.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll do Void Shield first. Yeah, I'm still getting used to it, Jordan. Seeing who I'm against is not something... Back in my day, you couldn't do this. So... Still, it doesn't work half the time, though. Sometimes it still doesn't show. But I see Mordred at least. And I would guess that, looking at their comp anyway, Mordred is not exactly great anywhere else but solo. Even though he can jungle, he's not really great at it.
Minions have spawned.
But man, what a day. The 2 games I get to play, I get Aladdin and bots. Who would have thought?
Whoa, sorry.
We'll see though. I mean, playing bots won't matter if my team loses somewhere else, so... Or too hard. Bots is good, but I don't think his solo carries as easily as Aladdin does. Not when he's in solo, specifically. Can I still make you do squats? Not today, at least. I've already done squats, and I'm kind of hooked. But in general, I suppose so, yeah. It's not as fun without the cam, though, I imagine. I actually forgot I had that as a thing. He turns really slow, this Mordred. Is he playing on console?
First blood.
Attack the minions! Science, facts. Okay.
He turns really slow. Do you guys see it too? It's not just me, right? Like you can see him turn really slowly around.
Attack! Be careful, right! Enemies in the right jungle. Enemy missing.
I'm
left.
being careful, right? Don't you worry. Tragic. Was hoping I'd do a bit more. He also leveled up in the meantime. That didn't help. This man got CC'd and got experience. Oh, it was fucking stunned. Oh no. I'm gonna feel a bit bad for this. Mordred is... He's a little confused. This might not be a hard game.
Retreat! No! Suck it up.
I might have to go a bit more damage then. If I go full tank bots, this is gonna be really boring into not good players. What is he building though? It's gotta be Phoenix Shield.
An ally has been slain.
Oh, I can't stop looking at how slowly he turns. It's so distracting to me. It just makes me laugh. It's so slow. It's so visually... so... Oh. What's happening here, buddy? Well, that's not good.
An ally has been slain.
He's cooking all of us. Oh my god.
Tower is under attack.
Enemy missing middle.
I'm just gonna back.
Completed.
I mean, I feel like I kind of need to go for the usual build, but I'm actually gonna go for Phoenix Shield in this one. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda underestimated him. I didn't expect him to use his ult like that.
Attack! An ally has been slain.
We will meet Gang!
He is tanky though. I'm not really sure it's gonna be pretty hard to kill him.
An ally has been slain.
Hey, ultimate is ready.
We will meet again.
Rips you apart. Your left tower is under attack.
Lion team.
Surely he sticks around.
You have slain an enemy. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Monkey attack!
Yeah, it wasn't actually that hard, I guess. I'm also expecting this guy to do different stuff, I will say.
Your left tower is
Like,
under
I should never kill him in this matchup, I feel like, unless he super steps up. But he's obviously a bit confused, and I feel bad.
attack, monkey.
I saw Loki going right, but he's surely not on my blue buff though, right?
Thanks. I'll kill you. I'll kill you last.
What's with my Medusas being so mad today? It's the second Medusa being really mad.
Go, monkey, go!
Guess they're just cosplaying as the actual Medusa. She would probably be pretty mad as well.
An enemy has been slain.
I'm gonna go for a weird build this game. I can't be asked to be fully serious. And I guess I'm tired of building the same stuff in bots as well. I wanna do something different.
Attack.
On my way.
I just don't damage him at all.
An enemy has been slain.
Help! Help!
Attack! An enemy has been slain.
On my way.
Go, monkey, go! Your middle tower is under attack.
Retreat to middle lane.
Wait. Is that I thought it was a raw jungle for a second, it's not.
Pyromancer has arrived.
What?
On my way.
What is this server? I just lagged backwards and missed my two.
An ally has been slain.
Oh, well, this is a great server.
Your left tower.
That's awesome. I love that. Hello. I don't know how long my cooldowns are. They're just at 0. Yeah, Canon 4 servers. I'm not gonna lie, the servers have been shittier and shittier by the day. They were really good at the beginning of... Oh my god. Of the patch, I feel like. But it's just gone worse and worse. Let's blink.
Retreat!
Go, monkey, go!
I sense your fear. Your left tower is under attack.
Attack, monkey!
An ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack. I sense your fear.
Retreat left lane!
Monkey, attack!
I sense your fear.
No, how did he hit me?
Your left tower is under attack.
Retreat right behind you!
You have been slain. Enemy right lane.
Unfortunate. Sure, just backed. I don't know what to build, really.
Your left tower is under attack.
I feel like Oath Sworn would be nice, but at the same time, I'm kind of lacking cooldown. What am I thinking?
Your right
I also
tower
need
is
binding.
under attack.
Why did I build this? It's so much other shit that I need. I'm just gonna build my usual stuff at this point.
Hey, enemy ultimate down.
Your right tower is under attack.
And I'm gonna need
I'll defend middle lane. Retreat!
cooldown or some magic defense eventually. I also like breastplate.
An ally has
I
been
just want
slain.
everything.
Go, monkey, go!
Double kill.
您好
Killing spree.
您好您好您好 Gank! Okay.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Run. Killing spree.
Could have blocked it, but I should have blocked it.
Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
Go, monkey, go!
It is time that I start rotating Hilt Magma team now. Seems to be a pretty big ADC diff at the moment. I see too many on her Medusa solo kills here. They all have beats. Ugh.
An ally has been slain.
Dude, stop, Medusa, please. Oh my god. What in the actual shit is she building?
Shut down.
I think I know why she's dying. Mystery solved.
Retreat, left lane!
An ally has been slain.
You are
Enemy
truly
ultimate
godlike.
Your middle tower is under attack.
What is this? Is Vulcan support? I see.
Your left tower is under attack.
Don't want the minions to spot me. Oh, of course. I don't know where everyone else is though. I feel like that should have been a really good fight. No, I guess not then.
Your middle tower is under attack. Has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack.
There is something weird though. I feel like a lot of people that don't know how to build never ask on how to build. People could just do that, but so many people don't.
Way to step up to the plate.
It would make everyone's life so much easier if they just asked. Granted, there's a lot of assholes that will just say some dumb shit if they do ask.
Defend! Defend! Help!
Your middle tower is under attack.
Help! Help!
Enemy missing left.
Attack! Help! Help!
Your middle tower is under attack.
I definitely hate my build in this one, but I need cooldown so badly, so I'm just gonna go Jotun's.
Fling! Attack the Gold Fury! Retreat!
Enemy missing middle. Be careful
Your
left.
right
It's
tower
not that it's
is
bad, I
under
guess. I just shouldn't have had Phoenix Shield.
Gank! Left lane! On my way!
attack. Killing spree.
Completed!
Attack the Gold Fury.
Medusa's fit now.
I'll defend!
Maybe we're good. This Vulcan is also playing a little too comfortably.
Attack fire giant.
Fire giant.
Attack fire giant.
Sure.
I'm building stacks. Enemy incoming.
Your team has destroyed the fire giant.
Retreat! Retreat! Retreat!
Your middle tower is under
Defend the
attack.
gold fury. Group up.
Go, monkey, go!
Gold fury!
Yes.
On my way.
Well, I guess they all went on Mordred, and their whole team didn't show up to save them. I can't really blame my team too much for that. That was just unfortunate. Big.
Be careful, bro.
Rampage.
I have chill.
Enemy ultimate down.
Triple kill. Deus.
Good job.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Probably need to get Gargoyle as well. I don't need to, I guess, but silence would be nice. Make my life a little easier.
Attack the gold
Your
fury!
team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
Enemy missing.
Attack the gold fury!
Okay.
Enemies have returned.
No fire giant
Your
for me though.
team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
Attack middle tower!
Attack fire giant.
On my way. Be right back. Follow me. On my way.
Retreat.
Destroyed the pyramids.
Follow me.
Behind you. On my way. Attack middle.
You have been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
Why are they all like sucking each other's assholes? Why are they all so close to each other all the time? What are we doing?
Unstoppable.
Enemies behind us.
Double kill.
Well done. I guess it doesn't matter. They were so close when I attacked someone, and they're literally running in one by one
Middle enemy tower.
everywhere else.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under
Loki does always ult me, I have noticed.
middle enemy Phoenix.
Maybe he should stop doing that. Maybe that's actually why they're losing, because he needs it for someone else than me.
Has been slain.
But I don't know. Maybe I would just
Under attack.
be be too annoying to have alive. On the spots.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy Phoenix. Your right tower is under attack.
Retreat!
Attack! Your right tower is under attack. Shut down. Attack!
Retreat!
Not chasing. Right.
Killing spree. Attack monkey. Your team has destroyed a right enemy tower.
Attack fire giant! Attack fire giant! Attack fire giant!
Take this jungle bomb.
Help!
Your team has destroyed the fire giant.
I
Your
need
right
the jungle
tower
bomb.
is under attack.
Okay.
Attack monkey.
Don't know why he went. I do feel like I should have went Blink this game. I could have done more with Blink.
Go monkey, go! Your team has destroyed a right enemy Phoenix. An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
Well, weird game for me, I feel like. But my team stepped up, so
There's no I in team.
I can't really say much there, but still a good damage. It's all that matters. Everyone knows that. That's gonna be it for me, though. As the title did say, and with the amount of dodges I got, I could not do more than 2 games, but I do appreciate you guys stopping by anyway for this short stream. But damn, getting Aladdin and Bots as the 2 gods is certainly something for these 2 games. But alright, thank you guys for watching, I really fucking appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!